I will get hot and I never get stained when we saddle up and ride 'em in the pouring rain.
Sooner or later, gotta cut you down.
He's gone country. Look at them.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Outlaw Country Podcast. Today we're joined by Shelby Lee Lowe. So thank you so much for joining us, man.
Thank y'all for having me, man. It's a pleasure.
Well, Shelby, I know you're a big football guy, so I was kind of wondering who's your college football team that you root for?
Man, I know you guys are Cornhuskers, so you guys are going to give me some grief from the '90s. But I guess back in the heyday, I was a Tennessee Volunteer fan. I still am, even though I didn't go to UT. That's just the D1 school that everybody in Tennessee normally roots for, either them or Alabama, and I just can't do it. So I still root for the Tennessee Vols.
All right, well, it was great having you on, man.
Yeah, they're kind of like Nebraska. You know, we were a lot better back in the late '90s, but we still have one of the best fan bases in all of football, no doubt.
So I know Cole, go ahead.
I was going to say, so growing up, we know you played football quite a bit. Was there any specific position that you played?
Well, when I first started out playing was in middle school, and keep in mind I'm from a very, very small school called Cornersville, and it's grown a lot over the years, but my 7th grade year playing football, there was only 13 players. So I did a lot of playing early on. So I played defensive end a lot and pretty much every position on the offensive line and fullback. So I got a taste of a little bit of everything early on. But as I grew up, I played a lot of middle linebacker and tight end, and those were my two favorite positions. Man, I'm a sucker for playing linebacker, and big fan of the tight end position. A lot of good, talented folks playing nowadays.
I think you hit on a lot of the positions that Ben and I played too. I played offensive line and DN all throughout grade school and high school, and then he was fullback and middle linebacker. So that works out.
Right on.
Were you more offensive or defensive?
Well, I started at tight end my sophomore year. My freshman year, believe it or not, I probably weighed 140 pounds soaking wet, but I somehow started at nose tackle. I was a defensive tackle my freshman year. And as I got bigger, somehow I got moved to middle linebacker. But I really couldn't pick a favorite because I think middle linebacker is probably one of the funnest positions in football.
Hell yeah.
But I really did. Man, there's something about playing tight end. I loved blocking, getting my nose in there, blocking people, and getting the ball every now and then and trying to run with it was a cool experience. So I couldn't pick one. I was both.
Did you have any dreams of going on playing college ball?
I did, actually. I was too slow and too small to really make any big waves in college football.
I know
but but I had some meetings my senior year with some smaller NAIA schools.
Mm-hmm.
You know, here in the Southeast, there's a lot of smaller Christian universities and little independent schools that do football. There's no junior college, unfortunately. I think I probably would have played JUCO if I could have, but I had some meetings with some smaller schools, had a couple of scholarship offers, but even with a scholarship offer, some of those private colleges were just outrageous. And I decided I didn't want to spend a fortune, go in debt for the rest of my life just so I can say I played football, you know?
Yeah. Well, I know you grew up about an hour from Nashville. When you would visit Nashville as a kid, was there a certain place you'd love to go to?
Well, I can remember my first trip ever to downtown Nashville. I was with my mom and my granny, and it was in the daytime, and this was the late '90s, so it was kind of the start of the resurgence of downtown Nashville, because downtown Nashville was pretty rough for a while, and it was a far cry from what y'all probably know today. But walking around downtown Nashville in the daylight, and we went into Tootsie's Orchid Lounge, which is a pretty iconic place.
Yeah.
And the guy in there singing, no clue who he was, but he saw a little kid in the crowd and, won the crowd over big time, got me up there to sing a couple Elvis Presley songs. And I wasn't a singer at the time. I didn't want to. I felt pressured. But I got up there and I sang Hound Dog, Elvis Presley.
Okay.
And that's my first time singing in Nashville. I think I was 8 or 9 years old singing an Elvis Presley tune.
Damn, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Wasn't that bar like one of the first bars like Willie Nelson played in Nashville or got discovered there in Nashville?
Now, y'all have to fact check me in case I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that he lived upstairs at Tootsie's Orchid Lounge for a little while. I've read one of his biographies, and he talks about Tootsie's. But I think he wrote some hit songs at Tootsie's at one point.
Okay.
And so it's a legendary spot.
Yeah, I've never been to Nashville, but when I go, I definitely want to go to Tootsie's. That's on my list.
That's a cool place, man. I when there's not a pandemic, I do pay some of my bills playing downtown.
Mm-hmm.
And I have played at Tootsie's, and there's also Legends Corner and the Stage and Second Fiddle. You need to check out Robert's Western World, because that's the spot for traditional country music right there. And it's
okay.
not as good as it gets.
All right.
So you mentioned doing like your first show at the age of 8. Was that kind of then, did that get you turned towards like music a little bit more, or was that not until like later on, like high school and college time?
Not at all. I didn't think twice about it. I didn't have a musical bone in my body. Didn't really think I could sing. Didn't really learn how to sing until later on. And I tried singing karaoke a few times and I thought it sounded terrible. But somewhere later on down the road, my great uncle, who was a guitar player, and he never knew how to read or write, but he could play guitar. And he taught me Folsom Prison Blues on guitar when I was like 14 or 15. And so that was my introduction to classic country there with him. And kind of went on from there. I started just singing along to the radio, like songs like Paint Me a Birmingham, Tracy Lawrence, stuff like that. And I got dared to sing at my high school talent show because a couple buddies had heard me sing before and thought I was pretty good. And I got pressured into singing in front of my entire high school. And first time they'd ever heard me sing, everybody flipped out, went crazy. And my vice principal, I'll never forget, he said, "Shelby, you are stupid if you don't pursue music because you got raw talent." And coming from him, that meant a lot, because I was pretty sure he didn't like me very much anyway. So to have him think, I was pretty good. So, all right, maybe there's something to this.
Yeah.
So we know you've done shows before for several like NASCAR races, and then also at Sturgis. Can you kind of tell us what it was like doing shows at those events, and kind of like what the scene was like for it, and how it's kind of different from like a typical show, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I got to play a few years back at Bristol Motor Speedway, kind of their pre-party for the races. Okay. On one of their big stages. And, I grew up watching NASCAR. I was a big Earnhardt fan, Sterling Marlin fan. Of course, he grew up right down the road from me. So it was cool to be back in that scene a little bit. And obviously NASCAR fans are rednecks, and they love country music. So they're my kind of people. So we played some old country. Whoops. Sorry, I got a phone call.
Oh, it's all good.
Yeah, we played some old country. We played some Southern rock, and we had a damn good time. And that was cool. But the last 2 or 3 years, this year would have been my 3rd year playing it. I've been going to the Sturgis motorcycle rallies and playing music for Jack Daniels, which is it's an honor because, when you think of whiskey, Jack Daniels is royalty. And growing up in southern Middle Tennessee, Lynchburg was just an hour away from my house. So I've been a Jack Daniels supporter since before it was legal for me to drink. So I love going to Sturgis. It's a lot like NASCAR. You're going to play in front of a lot of good old rednecks, and they love country music and they love Southern rock, and they just appreciate a good time. So that's been a truly, truly cool experience for me. I was looking forward to playing this year. Was the 80th annual Sturgis rally, but of course with coronavirus going on, it didn't work out where I could go up there and play this time. But fingers crossed, everything will be back to normal next year, and I can go party in South Dakota and maybe stop at Bucks on the way back.
Oh, absolutely. Man. We would love to see you at Bucks.
That's a cool place, man. Last year was my first time playing it. Buck's a wild dude too, and I didn't know what to expect. A little story about my first trip to Bucks. So last year I played the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally for Jack, and basically when I'm playing music for them, I'm doing like pretty much every day of the week. I'm playing for 6 hours, pretty much all day long with breaks here and there. And I had a guitar player buddy of mine, Dave Austin, out there with me. And he actually, freak accident, slips and breaks his wrist while we're out there playing. So long story short, I had to find a replacement. And luckily, there was a guy who was playing with a different band from Nashville. He filled in for me. Jordan Ripke, shout out Jordan. But he played with me while I was at Sturgis for the remainder of the time. But I left Sturgis, South Dakota. I had to drive straight to Omaha or Venice and play at Bucks. So I loaded up my truck and drove all the way by myself to Bucks Bar and Grill because Dave, my buddy, had to fly home and get surgery on his wrist. So I spent a lot of time driving to Bucks listening to Hayes Carl and Billy Joe Shaver and writing songs in my head. And actually one of the songs I started writing was my latest single, Pews and Poles. So I wrote that on my way to Bucks.
Oh, okay.
And that was actually the day that Mike and the Moon Pies dropped their Cheap Silver and Solid Country Gold record.
Yeah.
Fantastic album.
Man, what a great record that was. But I will never forget the first time I heard it because I was driving into Omaha and on my way to Bucks, and it's just fields of corn everywhere. And corn just never looked so beautiful, man. It was like the perfect scene. Yeah. It was I had a deeper appreciation for Nebraska, just driving through there, listening to Mike and the Moon Pies. It was a good time.
Well, I know it might have been after they dropped it or before. I can't remember, but shortly before Cheap Silver and Solid Country Gold came out, Mike and the Moon Pies played at Bucks. So they
were there 2 weeks after me, actually.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, speaking of pews and poles, where did you come up with that name for that song?
Well, I started writing the song because my little town of Cornersville, it's right off of Interstate 65, and it's a lot like parts of Nebraska. There's a lot of rolling hills. There's a lot of corn, cows, and farmland. That's about all there is. And there's like 100 churches because every small town in the South has at least 100 churches. But right off of the interstate, there's the Tennessean truck stop, which is one of my favorite places to go hang out and eat. And then there's 2 strip clubs. Yeah. So I don't know how it popped in my head. It's one of those things you're driving down the road, and it just, I was listening to Hayes Carl or somebody, and it just inspired me to write some off-the-wall, wacky song about my hometown having 100 churches and 2 strip clubs and 1 red light, which is a true story.
Gotcha. Yeah, I love that EP you dropped, the Joy Juice #2 pack.
Yeah.
I like Astro Van. I think is a hell of a song. That's a really cool song. Is Joy Juice? I was looking it up because I was kind of curious what that was. Isn't that is that a liquor store? Is what kept coming up when I was Googling it.
Yes, it's a real liquor store. It's called the Joy Juice. I guess there's a Joy Juice and then a Joy Juice #2. And I was playing in East Texas a few years ago, and another idea I had driving down the road, you drive by this little liquor store in the middle of nowhere, and it's called the Joy Juice #2. And it just stuck with me, and I put out my phone and I said, write a song about Joy Juice #2. So fast forward to this last year, I get with some buddies of mine, and it's like, I got this wild idea about a liquor store I've just been wanting to write. And we just kind of came up with the storyline based on this really weird, kind of creepy liquor store in East Texas.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a really cool song. 'Cause I know you say the devil lives in the Astro Van, and sometimes in those small towns and stuff, there's big time drug problems that go on, and I think you're kind of shining a light on real stuff that happens instead of some of the stuff on radios always just talking about how great small towns are and everything like that. Something kind of like what Tyler Childers does too with his music, kind of shows that maybe small towns there are darker parts of it.
No doubt. Yeah, absolutely. Tyler Childers does it better than anybody, I'd say.
Yeah, we're big Tyler fans.
Oh yeah.
So who are some of the people that you've written different songs with or different songs for? And is there someone that's been really memorable in the your songwriting career?
Yeah, I got to probably most recently. I got to go out on the bus with William Michael Morgan and write with him and start a cool song. That was fun. Probably the coolest song I ever got right with somebody that y'all would probably know off the top of your head is Aaron Tippin, who's a really cool guy. I wrote with him a few years ago, and we ended up writing a song called "What Kind of Man Would I Be If I Didn't Raise a Better Man Than Me?" So it was called "Better Man Than Me," and I had a good time writing with him. It was as a kid growing up, I remember seeing Kiss This on CMT, and looking up to that guy, thinking how cool he was. As an adult, getting to write songs with him was pretty cool. So I write a lot of songs with my producer Andrew Scott Wills, and I think I heard y'all talking on the podcast about Tristan Merez, and he's written songs for him, like not Hello Darling, but Darling, and a few other songs, and he's written songs with Jared Neiman, and he's a good friend of mine, and he's a like-minded guy when it comes to musical taste. So I write a lot with him, and I've written with people that have had some big time hit songs, and it's just cool to be able to get in a room with people that have had that kind of success and see what you can come up with.
Mm-hmm.
So which song of yours that you wrote for someone else has been your most successful one?
I have been, as a songwriter, I've got a lot of cuts for a lot of independent artists, and I don't know how successful any of them truly get. I'm not I don't know how much money I'm getting or my old publishing company's getting for them, but I guess recently James Robert Webb's an artist who just put out a song called "Think About It," and he released it to radio, and I think it got think I got up to like 25 on the Billboard charts and pretty high on the Music Row chart. So that, as far as a chart and single, that's done pretty well. There's an independent guy from near me named Scotty Ray Morton who cut a song I co-wrote called Red Wine and Whiskey, and he's doing pretty well with that online. So I got bukus of independent cuts, and nothing big, nothing major as of yet. So I'm still working on that though.
Well, I was looking at your store a couple days ago, and I saw some of your merch. And can you explain what the Possum Trot is? Because you were selling a shirt that had that on there.
Absolutely, yeah. So my old stomping ground, I'm from. I went to Cornersville High School, but I grew up in a little area, like a stretch of land smaller than Venice, Nebraska. It's and it's just called Possum Trot. There's no stores. There used to be a Possum Trot grocery store, and it's still there, but it's been closed for, probably 15 years or so. But it was a place I used to go at and shoot pool and just hang out with old rednecks because it was the closest little store to where I lived. And, as people ask me where I'm from, I could tell them, I'm an hour south of Nashville, or I could tell them I'm from Possum Trot, Tennessee. And that always perks their ears up a little bit, and they're like, what the hell did you just say? Yeah, I'm from Possum Trot, Tennessee. So people have laughed at me about that for years, so I decided to put it on a T-shirt and see if people would support Possum Trot for me.
Yeah, that's very cool. I was very curious what that meant when I was looking at it. Well, I don't know if you remember a couple of days ago, we were tweeting at you because you were a little annoyed, fed up with girls always requesting some Morgan Wallen at your shows.
Yeah.
Well, I was wondering when you're out playing, do you have a go-to cover song? Obviously, I don't think it's Morgan Wallen.
Well, honestly, it's not I got nothing against Morgan Wallen. I think, to be completely honest, I think that new song, 7 Summers, is the catchiest pop country song I've ever heard. And it might be the best written. And there's some of his songs that I just can't stand. That's not one of them. I actually, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I like that song, and I think it's a decent. I think it's not. Well, I don't know if it's country or not, but I just like it. But I just think it's funny that when I was tweeting that, it was more about all these people that have never heard of Jason Isbell coming up and requesting, not only wanting to hear Cover Me Up, but wanting to hear it by Morgan Waller. Yeah. Not Morgan Wallen, Morgan Waller. It's like, not only did you disrespect Jason Isbell, but you disrespected Morgan Wallen in the same breath right there. But I just thought it was hilarious. And, man, I do a lot of cover gigs because to be honest, a lot of people don't know my original music yet. So I have to kind of sneak my original music in still. But I cover whatever I'm feeling that night. But just about every show, I'm going to cover maybe some Dwight Yoakam or
okay.
If the crowd wants something more modern, I'll do John Party, who I'm a fan of. Yeah. But I get a lot of requests for Cody Jinks and Tyler Childers stuff too. So whatever the crowd's into, I can probably figure it out and try it for them.
Yeah. I like you kind of backtrack a little bit. I mean, I get in arguments with a couple of my friends all the time because they're always talking to me saying that Morgan Wallen's version of Cover Me Up is better, and I'm just I do not agree with that. Jason Isbell, he's awesome, dude.
Yeah, I think it's just a case of them hearing his version first, probably.
Yeah.
And anytime you hear that song for the first time, it's going to hit you different. Mm-hmm. Because I remember my first time hearing that song and hearing Elephant and just thinking, oh my God, it just floored me. So I can't imagine, it's hard to imagine anybody else doing those songs than Jason Isbell. But, if more people discover Jason Isbell and discover some good country music, good songwriting, because Morgan Waller, put that song out, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, when I first got into country, I was definitely not listening to the most traditional stuff, but I kind of went down a rabbit hole and found the good stuff.
Hell yeah.
So I've noticed in some of your promo pictures and stuff, you're always wearing roll cloth, and like I got a roll cloth shirt on right now too.
Nice.
Are you working on a sponsorship, or are you sponsored by them, or you just love their stuff?
Well, both. You know, they popped up on my Instagram feed a few years ago, and it just seemed like some cool stuff.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, they hit me up on Instagram about wanting to send me some merchandise in exchange for, you know, tagging them and stuff like that. And I said sure. And they have some really cool trucker hats, which I'm just about, you know, 7 days a week I'm probably wearing some kind of trucker hat. But they have really good, you know, they have really good quality clothing, and kind of celebrates traditional country music and stuff like that a little bit too on some of their shirts and stuff. And so I'm all for it. And their stuff just fits me well. So I anything that's, you know, pretty cool and fits me well, I'll sport them, especially if they send it to me. Yeah.
Well, I just thought it was kind of like when you first messaged me, I was looking through your Twitter, and I thought it was funny because I had just ordered some stuff from Roll Cloth, and you were wearing that in your promo pics. I had to ask about that.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. I'm a Roll Cloth fan.
Well, I know I was listening to some other interviews that you've had, and I know you mentioned in one of them you were a Bill Withers fan. Have you ever thought about cutting the song Grandma's Hand? Have you ever heard that by him?
I love that song. That's a really cool song. I've never covered it. I did cover Use Me Up on my first record a while back, but Grandma's Hand's ones that I've never performed live, but I just love that clap and the
yeah.
And every time I hear Black Story, No Diggity, you know, I hear that in the background, and that sample that they use makes me think of Bill Withers every time. So, yeah, man, that was on my bucket list. Like, I wanted to be famous enough one day to be able to find out a way to meet Bill Withers, because he was just a badass. Like, he didn't put out bad music, and really soulful stuff.
Yeah, I think if you were to cut that and maybe put like a little country twist on it, that would be a damn good song. I strongly suggest that that would be awesome to cut that.
Hey, I might have to. That's a good idea.
So we know that you came out with the Joyce Jupack #2 earlier this year, and then with all the time because of COVID, are we going to be expecting any new music coming soon from you? Have you had time to like write or get in the studio at all?
Yeah, actually, you know, when all this stuff kind of went down, I had a lot of my plans go out the window. So I just decided to, you know, put my nose on the grindstone and see what I could do and focus on what was in my control. So I started writing like crazy, and been in the studio a couple times. And actually, you know, I've recorded some really good stuff, probably my favorite music that I've ever recorded in this last year. And really the music that fits me as an artist more than any music I've ever recorded. And I am going to put it out. There's a lot of things that go into deciding what I'm going to put out and when. So I'm working on that now. But I can tell y'all that I've got new music recorded, and I think it's pretty damn good. I've been on a roll writing songs this week. Actually, the last 24 hours, I've written 3 songs, and I like all 3 of them. So it's been good, man. I've been trying to really just hone in on, you know, who I am as an artist and the style of country music that I want to do, because I get to really just choose what kind of songs I write and release now, and it's never felt better, man.
Yeah.
So, if you came out with a new album, would you include Pews and Poles and Astrovan on there, or would you keep those separate from it?
Well, I think our goal when we released Pews and Poles and Astrovan, we just, me and my team, my manager and my producer, we put our heads together. And we knew that I wasn't going to be touring, and we knew that I wasn't going to be on the road in people's faces, and all my monthly gigs out of town at certain places were all canceled. So, and we didn't know if I'd be able to get back into the studio anytime soon or what that would look like. So we decided to release Pews and Poles because we had recorded it. And Astrovan was a song I had written a few weeks before the quarantine started. And really what you guys hear on Spotify is the demo that I recorded the day we wrote it. The vocals, everything. It was like the one take deal. It was all thrown together the day that, we came up with the song. But we decided that, we needed something to get in people's faces and so no one forgets about us. And it was a crazy time, just like now it's a crazy time too. So maybe putting out some music will be good for my fans and make somebody's day and give somebody something to think about other than being locked down in quarantine with this crazy ass pandemic we don't know anything about. So if I put out a new record, the songs that I've recorded, I'll say this, they're in the same kind of vein as Astrovans and Pews and Poles, but they are very different. I probably wouldn't put those two songs on the new album, but so those will always be George Hughes number 2, just for kind of a fun little thing we did for quarantine. But I tell you what, when I do get to put out new music, it's going to be very honky tonk. It's going to be traditional country. Some of it is country enough to where, I think the true traditionalists will appreciate it, but hopefully catchy enough and written well enough that, by some stroke of luck, if it wound up on, contemporary country radio, that people that listen to John Party or Morgan Wallen would also like Shelby Lee Lowe,
Yeah.
So that's what I'm hoping.
Okay.
So, kind of changing gears here, kind of just a little off the wall question. Do you have a favorite Western movie that you like to watch?
It's been a while since I've watched any movie, honestly. But True Grit was always, the original True Grit with Glenn Campbell and John Wayne. That's an awesome movie. Is it 310 to Yuma?
Oh, my brother.
Is that what you're talking
about? Yeah.
The newest one with I think Christian Bale, I think was the lead actor in it. That was a really cool movie. So, and I guess I don't know if it's considered a modern Western, but No Country for Old Men. If you wanted to call that one a Western, somehow, just the way it's kind of filmed and the style of it is kind of reminiscent of an old Western movie, and it's in West Texas. That one's also a really cool movie.
Have you watched any of Yellowstone?
No, everyone keeps telling me to. I know they play really good music, and Kevin Costner's in it, so it's got to be good. But I don't even know. Is it on Amazon? I don't even know where to watch it.
It's tough to watch it. So I bought the first 2 seasons off Amazon, but this 3rd season's been on TV, so I've been recording it and stuff. But only way I could figure out to find it was I had to physically buy the seasons, so that was kind of, I didn't really like that, but it was worth it. It's such a good show.
Yeah, I didn't have to buy it because Steve bought it for me. So,
well, y'all just watch it and send it to me, man. I'll let you know what it's like.
Yeah, they support all the good independent guys in that show. They have Cody Jinks, Whiskey Myers, Coulter Wall. A bunch of those guys are like Whiskey Myers is actually in an episode, which is really cool.
I heard about that. That is that's really cool, man. Because there's not like a big radio station that's pushing that kind of country music to the masses. So you're not gonna find real good traditional country music, or the stuff that Whiskey Myers does, or anything that's not mainstream, unless you go looking for it or you stumble across it on a TV show. So man, I'm thankful for anybody like them that's helping out the scene, and folks like you guys that are passionate about it and doing podcasts about it. I think that's great. Appreciate it, man.
So your song "Don't Speak," that's probably one of my favorites by you, and it's definitely a different sounding song. Were you nervous at all, kind of putting that out as a single? Did that make you just with how different it is?
It did, actually. It really did, and I'm sure you realized this, but you knew that was a cover song, right?
No, I guess I didn't.
You didn't know that was a cover song. I'm about to blow your mind. Do you have any idea who would have cut that song first?
No.
I'll give you a hint. It was an alternative rock band, and it came out in the 90s, and it was a female lead singer.
Yeah, I was born in 2000. I have no idea.
I got you, man. Hey, that's cool. Like, if people want to think I wrote that song, so be it. But I can't take credit for it. Believe it or not, Gwen Stefani, right?
Yeah.
No Doubt. That's a No Doubt song. And so, talking to my producer, in between albums, in between projects, we wanted to put out something, just kind of out there, kind of different than what I'd ever done before. And we started talking about cutting cover songs. It's like, we could do an old country song, or we can make a weird, rock song that everybody knows and make it country and see what we can do with it. So now that it's a cover song, you need to check out No Doubt, Don't Speak, because it's a pretty badass song. That's one reason we decided to try it. And, I've had some people tell me, it's like, man, it's just too weird hearing a man try to sing that song. So it was a risky thing. We just wanted to do something different and give it a shot. But a lot of folks have really gotten into it, and the music video we made for it's kind of trippy, and people seem to dig it too. So just getting on my weird side a little bit, I guess.
Yeah. I thought it's one of my favorites by you. I think it's what I like about it is how different it is. So I think it was probably a little nerve-wracking to put it out there, but I think it fits really well.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
So we were kind of looking at your website earlier, and we noticed that on your website you're supposed to have a show tonight at Flounder's Chowder House in Gulf Breeze, Florida. So we're kind of wondering. I'm taking a wild guess here that you aren't doing that show, but are you going to be doing any touring kind of anytime soon, or like in the Midwest at all?
Yeah, you would guess right, man. I guess I should probably delete that off my website, but hopefully nobody was going to surprise me and like drive to Florida from some crazy location and come see me play. But the coronavirus just kind of threw that out the window. But plans to go to the Midwest, I don't have anything booked at the moment, but I'm always, honestly, I've had a blast playing in the Midwest. I've gotten to play, of course, Bucks. That's one of the coolest places I've ever played at. Yeah. I felt at home at Bucks because it's just a little, it's just a hole-in-the-wall little redneck country bar in the middle of nowhere, man. That's the places that I grew up playing at when I first started. But I've played college bars in Iowa, and I've played, Minnesota, and I played all over the state of Iowa, and I've always had a good time. My only show in Nebraska so far was at Buck's Bar and Grill, so I need to play there more often.
Yeah.
But I do have, if it does, as long as everything goes as planned, I have kind of a little radio tour sort of like a socially distanced, very safe tour planned for Texas the second week of October, and I might be performing in the Fort Worth area. So I'm fingers crossed I'll get to go down to Texas for a little while and play.
Well, since you're a football guy and we've kind of talked about the Midwest, I got to know what's your opinion about Big Ten canceling?
You know what? I think being an SEC country, of course, all the SEC people are pretty opinionated when it comes to thinking SEC is so much better than everybody else. But I will say that the links that the NFL and that the NBA and that the SEC and the ACC, the links that they're going through to make sure that their players aren't only getting the virus but spreading it, they're probably less likely to get it than they would be if they weren't playing, and they're probably going to be better taken care of than if they weren't playing. So I think, honestly, it's probably a good thing that those guys are in a bubble being taken care of. It's just fewer people spreading this damn mess,
Yeah, I worked for the Husker football team, so I was really bummed when they canceled the season. I was really looking forward to it. So
I know everybody in Nebraska wants the season, it seems like.
Yeah, but then Desmond Howard
knocking on SEC's door, let us in, let's play.
Desmond Howard just crucifies us on national TV and just for wanting to play football. So I'm not a big fan of that guy, but hopefully we get a season in 2021.
I hope, man. Maybe as soon as January, but I don't really get the point. Like, if you're going to be playing in January, you might as well play right now. How much difference is waiting until January going to make?
You can't expect these players to do 2 seasons in 1 year. It's just, you can't do that to your body, especially these guys who they're not getting paid. These guys are trying to go pro. I don't see how they could do that.
It's a cluster, man. I don't know. Hey, that's above my pay grade. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Shelby, I don't think we have anything else for you. Oh, you got
I have one more question. Because it's something I just noticed. I know you mentioned them earlier, but I just saw the Mike and the Moon Pies hat that you're wearing. So, are you big fans of them then?
Hell yeah, man! I'm a fanboy. I'm kind of like y'all, man. I'm a country music nerd, and when I hear a band that makes country music the way that I think it should be made, I'll stand on the hilltop and I will prop those guys up as much as I prop my own music up. And I think Mike and the Moon Pies are my favorite band right now. I got to see them play this year, and that was cool. But yeah, I love those guys. I've got a lot of I'm a big fan of a lot of country artists coming up nowadays, but they're one of the tops for me. So big fan.
Yeah, I would say I got introduced by Ben when we were on a trip to Grand Island to see Cody Jinks. First song he played for me was Steak Night at the Prairie Rose, and I just dove right into everything that they had after that. So I am a huge fan of them as well. So
steel guitar, man, the whole production is just right up my alley, and it kind of reminds me of some of the music I've been writing and producing for myself, and I love them, man. I'm a huge fan. Anytime I find an artist that is making it that way, I'm going to support them.
They remind me of like a Texas, almost like a Texas Midland, just with how polished they are, and they're heavy on the steel and everything.
Oh yeah, man. That Gary Stewart record. If you guys haven't listened to that Gary Stewart record, Heart of Home. That song is like those sad country songs that like hit you in the gut, like Gary Stewart's known to do. Like Empty Glass. They nailed it, man. I can't praise those guys enough.
Yeah, I would say that's what I was going to ask you is what you thought of that album. I'm right now waiting for it on vinyl. I'm still waiting to get it, and I love it. I love the song that they did with the lead singer from Midland. They did Smooth Shot of Whiskey. Yep.
Beautiful song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like a week before Ben and I were talking, like, it'd be so cool if Mike and the Moon Pies and Midland did a collaboration, did a song together. And the next thing we know, like, oh, Midland's lead singer's doing a song with Mike and the Moon Pies is like, what the heck?
I think that's so cool, man. And Midland has gotten some flack over the years for not being authentic or whatever, anybody's wanting to say. I know they're all either like underwear models or, videographers in LA, but you can't deny that the guys are writing some good music and putting out some good country music. And, the lead singer knows who Gary Stewart is. He's got good taste in country music, and I love their stuff too, man. I've seen them play and enjoyed them a lot.
I don't get why they catch flack, because maybe they're not the most country dudes, but some of these guys who grew up in small towns and stuff, they're the ones on the radios that are playing like snap track records and just have their music created by a computer. And then Midland comes in here, maybe not the most country dudes, and they're making classic country music. So I don't know why they get hated on for that at all.
Yeah, I mean, being a true country gentleman doesn't mean you're going to put out, you can, shovel horse manure for a living and live in Possum Trot, Tennessee, but it doesn't mean you're going to make good country music.
Yeah. Well, Shelby, I don't think we have too much left. I know you got a guitar. If you want to play us out or something like that, that would be cool.
Man, yeah, I was going to see if y'all would let me do one.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
Y'all just make me a promise when I do put out my new music, which I don't know when it'll be, but it will be in the coming months, I will say. You guys tell some folks for me and give it a good listen.
Oh, we will shout it to the ends of the world if we can. Absolutely.
Well, hey, if you want to plug your social media right now, you can too.
Well, I do. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. You Google me, you'll find all kinds of stuff about me. But it's Shelby like the Mustang, it's Lee like the Blue Jean, and Lowe like Lowe's Home Improvement. And I'm on all that, and of course Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music. This song is a brand new song that hasn't been released yet, and I don't know when I'm going to release it, but I promise you this: if somebody, if somebody like Cody Johnson doesn't cut it, I'll cut it. So awesome. This one's inspired by one of the greats, so George Strait. I could be king for a day. I'd be hanging out in Marina Del Rey with some old troubadours on an oceanfront porch in the shade. Bring back the solid country gold. I'd put fiddle and steel on the radio. Yeah, if I know me, I get carried away. I'd have a saddle for a throne. Everywhere I'd go, there'd be nothing but blue, clear skies. Easy come, easy go, selling out every show. Just living one night at a time. Wish I could be king for a day, but there's only one George Strait. I'd have an ace in the hole. I'd make 8 at the rodeo. Oh, and I'd run into the morning sun, Amarillo. I'd have a saddle for a throne. Everywhere I'd go, there'd be nothing but blue, clear skies. Easy come, easy go, selling out every show. Just living one night at a time. Wish I could be king for a day, but there's only one George Strait. I'd have a saddle for a throne. Everywhere I'd go, there'd be nothing but blue, clear skies. Easy come, easy go, selling out every show. Just living one night at a time. Wish I could be king for a day, but there's only one George Strait. Wish I could be king for a day, but there's only one George Strait.
Hell yeah, man. You need to keep that song. Don't be giving that to anyone. That's
All right.
yours.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, man. We really appreciate it. Have a good rest of your night.
Thank you guys. Y'all keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. See ya.